Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well and that you're being your absolute best selves, particularly to our lovely sub, Alexandra. And if you haven't thanked Alexandra yet today, please do, and every day. Thank you, Alexandra, for all that you're doing for us. I appreciate you so much. And I hope that my lovelies right here are representing their best selves to you. Okay, we are going to get into Jacob's today together, and I want you to open the book and have it in front of you. You should have your notebooks out. You should already have your notebooks out. I hope so. And a pen or a pencil. You've already read chapter 1 of Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. This is so exciting. This is such a beautiful text and so rich, and is going to inform so much of what you think about with other texts that we read over the next 2 years, really. This year with me and next year, possibly with me or with one of your English 12 teachers. This time that we look back at chapter 1 together, I want us to look back at chapter 1, which you've already read, started reading in class and finished reading at home. And this time we're not reading for plot or basic comprehension, right? We're reading for language. We're reading for choices. We're reading for the rhetoric Jacobs uses to shape the meaning of her project. So make sure that you have your books out in front of you right now, and a pen or a pencil in hand, and you're going to jot down notes as we go. Okay. We are going to look at chapter 1. So please turn to chapter 1. Okay. Chapter 1 is titled Childhood. Consider the importance of this title. Every time we read a chapter that has a title, it's a gift. We're going to always consider the importance of the title. But we are starting this narrative from the beginning of her life, as far back as Jacobs, writing as Linda Brent, can remember, right? So I want you to take a moment right now to jot down some thoughts about this word, childhood, this title, childhood. You may have just been thinking about childhood a couple of moments ago as you journaled, but go ahead and Alexandra, you can even pause this video if you'd like for 30 seconds. I just want 20 to 30 seconds of you jotting down some notes right next to the title of what the word childhood makes you immediately anticipate. You can pause me. Are we back? Okay. Always write down notes right in your book and starting right from the title. Okay, so now let's look at the first line. I'm choosing the first line of this title as the line that stands out to me. You may have marked a different line when you did your reading, and that's great because you're supposed to mark what stands out to you. And if it stands out to you, it's important. And if it's important to you and it stands out to you, even if you aren't yet ready to say why, you just know it struck you, that's fine too, right? We're not always able to articulate why something's important, but we know it instinctively. You know what I mean? And I want you to start trusting your instincts as you read this book. In the first line of this text, she says, I was born a slave, but I never knew it until 6 years of happy childhood had passed away. And here I want to model a little close reading for you, not because I want to hand you an interpretation of this opening phrase, but I want to show you how much we can see is packed into this sentence. So many layers, right? I want to start with, I never knew it. Because Jacobs is saying here that slavery was there, the institution of slavery was there from the beginning, but her awareness of it wasn't there. And that's a distinction. She was born into a system that was invisible to her. And if you think about it, most of us are, right? In fact, I might go as far as to say that we all are. We're born into systems that are invisible to us, particularly as children. They're normal to us. They're like the air we breathe, whatever system we're born into. Children normalize. They know what they know, right? They normalize what they know. And so for Jacobs, that was the institution of slavery and her own position as an enslaved child, born into enslavement. So what does it mean to be enslaved but not know it? That's something I want you to think about, right? How does ignorance of enslavement work as a temporary shelter for a child and as a tool to those who own her, right? These are kind of complicated questions, but ones I just kind of want to plant in the back of your mind, right? And then I want you to look at the notion of happy childhood, right? Happiness under slavery is complicated. Is it genuine? Is it partial? Is it the product of innocence? I want you to underline that. Can we say for sure whether a child that is enslaved, who doesn't know she's enslaved, is happy? If she remembers her childhood as happy, was it happy? I don't have answers for these questions. I just have questions upon questions for you to consider. But that's the kind of thinking I want us to do as we go into her narrative. And her narrative is going to invite that kind of thinking. And then the notion of passed away. Passed away can be a euphemism for died. It's gentle, it's soft, the phrase passed away, right? Childhood doesn't always simply pass away. Sometimes it does. It gradually kind of passes away as adolescence takes hold. But oftentimes something interrupts it. Something disrupts our innocence and, in fact, sends us catapulting into the world of adulthood. And that's the case for Jacobs. Some really very heavy adult and dark things happen that make her aware of her former innocence and of herself as an enslaved child. I'm not asking you to reread chapter 1, but what I want you to do is I want you to pull out your mini glossary of rhetorical devices. If you don't have it, I've linked it for Alexandra, and hopefully she has copies for you. Remember that this is an important mini glossary, and we're going to keep it as a reference tool. Scan it. Think about, when you look back at chapter 1, think about whether you see any of these devices obviously at work. Spoiler alert, they're all going to come up at some point or another in the text. Remember that Jacobs is writing to an audience of Northern Christian white women, and she's shaping her voice carefully to meet and challenge their expectations. So you always should have that in the back of your mind. I said that in my last video. I think that you've probably heard that by now. But another thing I want you to notice in the opening of this book is the notion of kindness. She repeats the word kind and kindness multiple times through this chapter. She refers to her mother's mistress and her own mistress as kind mistresses. And I want you to consider what kindness means when it comes from someone who legally owns you. Can a slave owner, an enslaver, be kind to the enslaved? We often hear in U.S. history, yes. We often hear that the answer is yes, that there are some slave owners who are kinder to the people that they owned than others. And that's a complicated claim, and it's a complicated truth, and one that I want us to interrogate, because where is the role of kindness when one person owns another person, when one person has absolutely no agency or freedom, when their life is completely at the mercy of another person? Is kindness really something that we can name or put our finger on? Or is it a little more complicated? So your task right now is that you're going to work with the person sitting next to you. There may have to be a group of 3, and you're going to look back through chapter 1 and look for some of the things that I just named that are raised in that first sentence. Ideas of the happy childhood, euphemisms about childhood passing away, things related to childhood and innocence and ignorance and kindness, right? These notions are ones that I saw all reflected in that first sentence. And then I want you to find another place in the chapter where you see those same ideas raised, either directly or indirectly. I also created a reading guide going forward for you that Alexandra has made copies of. And it basically summarizes a little more clearly what I'm trying to say to you right now verbally. And that is how you're going to approach each chapter moving forward. So we're going to go back to go forward today. You're going to go back through chapters 1 through 6 with partners, looking for areas where you have both found texts that struck you as important. You're going to look for things that reflect the title. Moments that reflect the title, symbols that reflect the title, images that reflect the title, phrases. You might see the title named in other parts of the chapter. That might be an interesting place to highlight, or that might be the least interesting place to highlight. It doesn't have to be that you find the word childhood over and over again in the chapter, for example, for chapter 1, but things that resonate with the notion of childhood, right? With ignorance and innocence and kindness and memory and happiness. And as innocence falls away, what does it fall away to? Does it fall away to trauma, or does it fall away to wisdom? All of those are kind of ongoing questions that we're going to ask. So please take a look all together at the reading guide and make sense of it together. Do some partner work, looking back at the chapters that you've read for today, finding places that you can close read together. putting notes in your margins, benefiting from other people's minds at work. And then hopefully Alexandra will be able to carve out some time for you to all share out and benefit from each other's partnerships as well. And we will speak again soon. I miss you. I hope that you're really enjoying this book, and I will see you soon. Bye.